Welcome back to Restaurantopia. We are here, very excited this morning to talk to Jason Brooks. But before I introduce Jason, I have Anthony with me. Hi, Anthony.
What's happening? How are you?
What's
It's
going
been a while,
on?
Dave.
It has been, yeah, two of the dynamic trio.
Yeah, yeah.
So Brian had some other things going on, so we'll see him another time. But glad to have you, man. So Jason Brooks, professional speaker, author, coach, also family man. Very it seems very passionate from what I spoke to you about and seeing some stuff on LinkedIn. Jason's got a book coming out in March, right? So March 18th, I
March
believe.
18th.
March
Oh,
18th.
yes.
Yeah.
Exciting. It's
Every
exciting.
leader needs followers. Okay, so we're gonna do. We're probably gonna do two episodes here. So this first one is gonna talk about the first five, but this is 10 keys to transform restaurant managers into hospitality leaders. So Jason, give us maybe a quick nickel tour of your background and why you wrote a book.
Well, 30 years in the industry, works for six of the top 100 restaurant brands. Everything from dishwasher coming in the side door all the way to business consultant, business coach, managing partner, VP of operations, and fought the industry for many years. Many of us within the restaurant industry, we don't get in because we woke up at the age of 7, like, I want to be a restaurant manager today. That just doesn't happen. So once you're in there, and then you're actually good at what you do, you kind of fight it like, no, I said, I'm going to be a DJ or I'm going to be this. And then one day your spouse or your friend just sits you down like, why are you fighting this? You're actually good at this. You actually need to really triple down, double down on this restaurant thing. And then that's when I got knocked on the head and said, okay, yes, this is me. It's crazy because this is one of the few industries that teaches young adults to run $1 million business at the age of like 19, 20 on a shoestring budget with very little profits in the single digits. And people don't realize, whenever we talk about tech and then the profits off of tech, the profits off of being an influencer. I mean, it is up there. You can make all kinds of cash. But when it comes down to the restaurant business, we're teaching young people to profit $1 million businesses on a shoestring budget. That is crazy.
Yeah, and this will be the final episode of Restaurantopia. We'd like everybody. Thank you for listening.
No,
Listen, no, Jason, what you're saying is so true, but it's like the career version of a cold plunge, right? Because it's like starting your day, Dave. You like cold plunges, you love them, right? So you jump in. It's the worst part of your day.
You jump
start
in.
off your day. Yeah, you start off your day with the very worst part. This is like what he's saying is you're starting off your career with the very worst part. Because you do have to pull a rabbit out of your hat so often in this industry, and at such a young age with business immaturity abound and all that stuff. But hella, transferable skills you learn from this industry. We've talked about it before in multiple episodes are gold, absolute gold.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you brought that up because I never really thought of it through that lens, Jason. That's some profound stuff you got there. But
whenever you think about what we teach people, whether they go on to be a teacher, a rocket scientist, or a very successful restaurateur, the things we teach them to do, where to put certain lines within the budget to make things happen, it is just astounding. Now, do we still need to work on being open to truly being open about sharing what that P&L looks like, or just being open to the business in general? Yes, because most people that work for restaurants, if you put 100 pennies on a table and say, I want you to grab off of every dollar, how many pennies do you think that we profit? And they're going to grab like 75 cents. Be like, no, it's not that much. But when you look at the volume, when you look at the effect, when you look at the industry and what it does, it's more than just the money. Yes, you can make a ton of money, but how you put together how to run that business, people in every industry gain so much from it that's what makes them successful if they move on to the next thing. That to me is just amazing about our industry.
Yeah, no, and I love how you've kind of, to speaking with you prior, talked about, kind of giving back to the industry, and, an industry has done so much for you and your family over the years. And I think you've done a really unique thing with how you're launching this book. So I want to take a couple minutes before we dive in, because I'm excited to dive into these 10 points, but I'd love to hear a little bit about what you're doing with this book, because this was a unique launch that I think is worth mentioning.
I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to give back $30,000 in 30 days to the Giving Kitchen. And the Giving Kitchen first is an amazing nonprofit organization started in 2013, officially as a nonprofit in 2013 out of Atlanta. It was a chef found out he had terminal cancer, and the chef and his wife had to find ways to how can we make this happen. They were so embedded within their community. When you think about hospitality, we take care of family. We take care of our family and others, even strangers. And they were so well with their hospitality that the whole community came together to help raise money, because in our industry, again, you don't always have insurance. You don't always have different plans to help you whenever things go wrong. So Giving Kitchen actually helps food service workers in need. They will help them to find the programs that is local, or even help with the funds that, if they're running tight, to help them get over that next hump. They do some amazing things for food service workers within this industry. And I said, how can I help give back? Because my book helps food service workers transform into hospitality leaders. Giving Kitchen helps food service workers in need. So by putting 10,000 books into the hands of food service workers, not only do you get to give back to Giving Kitchen, you also get a tool to give to your teams to help them transform to restaurant managers. So every book sold between March 18th, the book launch, and April 18th, even pre-orders, every single book sold is going towards helping to raise that $30,000, if not more, in order to give back to the industry that's given me so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so we're going to have a link to be able to pre-order the book or order the book once it's out. We'll have all that in the show notes. So that's fantastic. I love that, man. I love the well put. So let's dive in. So before we get into the first point, like, I love the format of the book. We talked about how this is really an easy read, and how, restaurant workers, probably don't have the penchant for reading. So I love the way you set this up, and it's basically in 3 different compartments, each bullet point. You talk about the main course, the takeaway, and the angle. So let's just dive into the first point, mastering your KPIs.
Yes. And did you know that you're actually extremely smart at choosing the first 5 in order to do on this show? Because the first 5 form the acronym MODEL, MODEL. And that's on purpose. That's because the first 5 steps are 5 repeatable steps to help food service workers become hospitality leaders. First one is M, master your KPIs. O, owner-like orientation. D, delegate by creating mini GMs. E, engage through one-on-ones. And L, leading with the right mindset. Those first five keys in that order is a repeatable model to help leaders never lead alone again. So master your KPIs. First one, the most important, because we don't do this to break even. We don't get into the restaurant business just to break even. And that's like you going to work. You're working a restaurant week of 60 hours in a week. You finally get off. You're like, whoo, you get your check. And then you pay your house bill, pay your car bill, pay your other bills, gas, water, lights, but then you have no money to eat. You have no money to go out. Does anyone work just to pay the bills? That's why master your KPIs is the very first point, because the restaurant business is a business first and a restaurant second. So you have to master your KPIs. Now, we have to get deeper though. The KPIs just aren't the big targets. The big targets that we always shoot for: sales growth, and then prime. Prime cost is your food and then your labor. Those are all post numbers. Whenever you master your KPIs, you're really getting into some of what I call the human element of the numbers. And that's looking at some of the lead measures that help to make the lag measures stronger. Lag measures: food costs, it's done, it's happened, it's there. Sales, done, happened, it's there. Labor, done, happened, it's there. But you can look at some of the lead measures in order to see what are some of the things that I can do, that my team can do in order to help move those numbers. Another piece to master your KPIs is knowing what your business goals are. How many times do we make a business plan? Put it on a piece of paper, thick paper, that fancy kind, frame it, put it on the wall. And then next thing you know, you ask a server, a host, a busser, what's the business plan? Get the doors open on time and leave 5 minutes after we close because they don't want us riding the clock. That's not the actual business plan. Trying to find ways to match. What is it within these 5 areas that if I'm in this position or this department or the accountant or whatever, how am I making these 5 business plans work within the 4 walls? Because if it's not happening in your business, it's really not there. So that is the very first key and the most important.
Yeah. See, I always thought when you made your money after the 60-hour week, I thought you went to the bar first, spent the money, and then hit up your buddy for the rent payment. I thought, like, is that not it? Did I have this mixed up the whole time?
That's typically what you do. About the first 10 years of your career in restaurants, that's typically what you do.
Okay, got it.
No, your playbook's not wrong. Jason, I'm glad you're a public speaker, by the way. I have to say, I feel like I'm captivated. Like, yeah, I forgot that I was hosting a show for a second there. I thought I was just in the audience, right? I'm over here taking notes. I'm all pumped up. Let's go.
Let's go run through a wall right after this. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we do.
Yeah, the KPI thing's so important, though. And I consult with a lot of independent restaurants, and a lot of times they don't have measurable objectives in place. And you hit the word prime cost right off the rip. And it's you'd be shocked about how many restaurants don't understand the concept of prime cost. So I'm glad you open up with that, because without prime cost management, given that on a great day, your prime cost represents 65% of your revenue stream, right? In today's day and age, with inflated labor and inflated, items coming in or cost of goods. To not manage 65 cents on the dollar is criminal. So it's like the more we can do to educate operators out there about prime cost and how often you should measure them. And I would argue weekly if you work your inventory system right. It really keeps your business in line and profitability in line. But just as you said earlier with the 100 pennies, the minute you turn your back on those pennies, they start falling off the table and you don't even know.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that is spot on. And what's crazy is 10 years ago, if you said, well, my prime cost is 65%, they're like, what? How do you survive at 65% prime cost? 20 years ago, like what? 50%? How do you survive on 50%? And yet still, this industry is agile enough to know how to be nimble and make things work and still have people happy sitting in seats and coming back the next week. That to me is just crazy.
I feel like Jason was in our conversation last week, Anthony, when we were talking about 70% might be the new number.
Exactly.
It's crazy. I mean, for some, it may be. So then that's whenever we say, how do we rethink the industry? Chip Close is a phenomenal coach, and he's on this mission of how do we rethink the restaurant industry. It's been the exact same way for centuries. And we within our industry, we drag our feet kicking and screaming when it comes to change. We are the last ones to do AI. We are the last ones to do credit cards, where we are the last ones to do anything that is change. We just fight it. How do we rethink how the restaurant industry is when it comes down to the actual service model and try to get ahead of things? Because you're right, 70% might be that new number. That's going to change a lot more of how we do what we do.
Sure.
Yeah, Chip's a good listen. For those out, we've had Chip on the show quite a few times over the years, and he's always brought incredible value. It's an amazing restaurant coach, to your point. And his new book is amazing too. I'm not sure if you caught it or not, but it's outstanding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know some more organizations that are floating around right now as we speak. I know some managers who read chapters out of that book. So that was a good name drop there. I like it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So let's get into owner-like orientation, Jason.
Oh, I love this one. And the reason why I love this one here is because that key, and of course, each book has chapters, but I have keys. So that key is what helps managers. One, how do I attract the right talent whenever I'm posting for open roles? How do I go about the interview? How do I go about the orientation? And then how, after they are celebrating, I've given them this great opportunity, how do I keep them engaged throughout the process prior to day one? And then how do I keep them on board up through day 100? There's times that we truly celebrate too early with giving that job offer, and then it's just silent. That's like asking your spouse, will you marry me? She says yes, and then you drive home for 4 hours and no one says nothing. That would be absolutely awkward, right? There needs to be some kind of communication that is still going on, and that key helps to walk through some of those things that are cheap or absolutely free to keep your new hire engaged. But one of the key pieces is the orientation part. And I'll tell you what, we do orientation wrong. We do it terribly. And this is why. Your average orientation within a restaurant, you set up a table, you put down a few hats, apron, name tag, and a stack of papers. Then the pen goes hot. Well, they come in, you greet them, ask them if they want something to drink. They have a seat, pen goes hot, and then you first start off there being wrong because that table ends up being their new break table. Have you ever noticed that the table you do orientation at, your new hire now makes that their new break table? So first, that's number one. Then number two, you take them back and put them on a laptop for some computer-based training. And then after that, after a few hours, then you put them on their first position. That new hire owns three things. One, they're a new break table. Two, a laptop. And three, one position. And then you're hoping and praying after 6 to 8 weeks that they begin to branch out into more. And it doesn't happen. That's what we do wrong. I have a new way that I suggest that you do it. And you walk in, you still have that table set. They walk in, you still greet them, ask them for something to drink, if they would like something to drink. And then before you sit them down at the table, take them outside. Take them to the front curb, all the way to the front curb, next to the highway, and say, this is my restaurant. Every single day, we pick up all the trash from the front curb on in, because every customer driving by this building, whether they choose to eat here today or not, they see it from the curb all the way in. And we want to make sure we look better than Valvoline, than the Scotchman, than Buc-ee's, than McDonald's, than whatever. Every single person on this road is competition when it comes to looks. And then you walk them on in. We pick up all the trash that is in the parking lot. We scrub all the sidewalks. Here's a dumpster pad. We keep the doors closed, yada, yada, yada. But you're giving them the view of the entire outside of the building. You're also, one, watching for their body language. How many times have you brought someone on, and then when you ask them to do something, like, oh, I don't do that. That's Susie's job. That's Billy's job. Whenever you're walking them through, you would much rather know right then, are they here to actually work for me? Or should we cut ties now prior to even putting you in in the laptop so I can move on versus 2 weeks in. Now I'm trying to find coverage. So it gives you time to read their body language. But two, as you walk into the restaurant, you're then talking them through what the customer sees as they pull on the doorknob, as they walk towards the host stand. What do they hear? What do they smell? Do they hear team members talking? Does it feel cold? Are there certain sight lines that have buildup, that have dust? Walking to a table, sit them down, have them look from that table height 3 feet down, start turning left, right from the ledges to the chair backs, to the chair legs, all the things that the customer sees that we may not pick up on. And when you're doing this from the exterior to the interior, let them know what a 1, 3, and 5 is. A 1 is subpar. A 3 is par. A 5 is above par, or that is the top standard. Now you're associating your customer service feedback that most restaurants have with them on day one. By you opening up your team members' eyes, your new hires' eyes, on day one, it does a few things. One, when they pull up, they are more apt to be focused on the restaurant in the parking lot, not just once in position. Two, whenever they get trained, your trainer is going to be like, holy cow, Dave, where'd you get this new hire from? Because he is just miles above the past new hires that we brought in. They are more so focused and more bought in on training them the right way. But key number 2, though, I know that was a long one, but owner-like orientation, that is one of the true keys to help build your team.
Yeah, and I would suggest anybody listening that got motivated by that you actually go out to the curb and walk into the restaurant before you take somebody through that, because you may find some things that you've been overlooking. You know what I mean? So no, but I love that, because you're holding yourself accountable when you do that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because when you're taking that new employee out there to do that, your shit better be together.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, you brought up something important there too that I love, and I caught this on social media the other day, and there was a guy named Gary Vee. Not sure if you heard of him before, but he was doing a lecture and talking about how we all suck at hiring. Right? He goes, no matter how good you think you are at hiring, we all suck at hiring, right? And it's the truth, because it's a poker game. We're all bluffing, right? We got our best foot forward, we got our best clothes on, we got our best attitude on. One thing he says about that is, first of all, you have to admit that you suck at hiring and understand it's okay that you suck at hiring, but fire quickly. And that's a hard thing for people to do. But the quicker you fire, the smaller the confrontation becomes. So if you're in front of that building, as you said, walking around and the body language isn't there, cut ties now before you get involved emotionally with this person. The next thing you know, you start understanding their family situation, you start getting attached to the person, you start feeling bad for the person. And as we know, emotional decision-making in business isn't always the best thing.
Well, and so one thing
I absolutely love that.
Yeah, and one thing I love from that video that you're talking about, that Gary talks about, we all have our egos wrapped up in the hire. So what happens is like you want it more for the employee than they want it for themselves. So where when you should have made a quicker decision to cut ties, your ego's wrapped up in, well, this is my hire and I'm so good at hiring and I can make this work. And, and then that's when things don't go as planned. But,
Yep. Hire slow, fire quick.
Love it.
Yep.
Sorry, Jason, say that again. Sorry.
Hire slow, fire quick.
Love that. So, all right. So where we're at number 3, huh? So number 3, creating mini GMs. Mini GMs. Is this like, you got like a little shrinking ray, or like what do we got here? Honey, I Shrunk the GM. What are we doing?
That you shrink them and you duplicate them both. Yes.
I did some of this inadvertently in my career, and I started reading through this key, and I was doing some vetting of the book, and it was like I always joked about, hey, Norma Jean, you were the coffee machine manager, right? And hey, Joan, you are the closet manager. And I was completely joking, but I feel that it's not a joke at this point in time. So please elaborate.
It is not a joke. In our industry, again, we will continue to get more reports to pour over, more data to go through, more technology to implement, more line items to look over, more third-party dashboards, you name it, it's coming, it's not going to stop. And we can either A, carry it on our shoulders, or B, find ways to push work to our team that makes sense for them. Now, delegating is one of those things that we in the industry, we've been known to do, but there's times, again, that we do it wrong. We'll either delegate items that we just don't like doing. I just don't like doing that, so I'm going to have someone else do that. Or we will delegate the right items, but we don't train them the right way. So when it comes down to key number 3, delegate by creating mini GMs, it's good to create a system of knowing what needs to be done first, second, third of the things that are important. All 3 levels are important. Just some things are more important than others. And then say, is it a admin 1, admin 2, or admin 3? A admin 1 is GM or the managing partner only. Number 2 is any manager. And number 3 is a key employee. And then knowing out of these things, what are the most important time-wise that has to be done first, second, third, and then who has to do it. And then you're ranking your items that you do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Now, that doesn't mean that you're farming out everything that's on this list, but you're looking at 2 to 3 things that you want to delegate to someone. Then you also have to put on time frames. How long does it take to get this thing done? Is it 15 minutes? Is it 2 hours? Because you need to know if you're delegating this to an employee or another manager, how much time is it taking off of what they should be doing? Then what is that frequency? Is it every Thursday? Is it every day? Is it once per month? And then a training date, knowing when you're going to train them, how long you're going to train them for, and when it becomes theirs. But you're taking delegating and you're putting it into an actual process for people to be more successful at it. Because the moment someone fails, what's the first thing that we do? Give me that back. I knew you couldn't do it. I've been doing the inventory perfectly all my life. I've counted every grain of rice, every single salt, every single sugar. I know exactly what I've been doing, but it's just not true. We just feel like we fail more when we give something to someone and then they don't do it right. But half the time it's because we don't train them the right way of how to take over doing that thing.
Yeah, and I want to go back to the time thing real quick, because I see in a lot of leaders, the biggest rub or tension between employees and leadership is that when the leader is delegating things that they don't understand the time it takes, or aren't cognizant, or aren't even thinking about the time it takes, or even delegating things that maybe aren't even set up to be delegated yet. They're still messy, still sloppy. I call it passing the trash. You know what I mean? Where, get it cleaned up, get it organized, and then give it to somebody. You know what I mean? Like, don't pass the trash, I like to say. You know what I mean? So I love that. The time thing is very important in that.
Yeah, if I can add on here too, one thing I think we're guilty of, and you may have some thoughts on this, is in a delegation process, we always have those 1 or 2 people that always just knock it out of the park, right? And then what happens is we have those people that succeed and make us look really good, make us feel comfortable. And then as a reward, what do? We give them more delegation. We give them more work, right? And that's like it's the craziest thing to me, but it happens all the time. I see it every day. And it's a cautionary tale for me. The best way to get rid of your best employees is to wring them out like towels. We have to be very cognizant of that throughout the process as well.
That is very true. That's why whenever you do this process, you should look at it at a 3 to 6 month time frame, and then you're using a switch at that 6 month mark. You can tie it into the mid-year evals, end of year evals, and then you're using the person that was doing that task to help train the person that is going to do that task. And then that way you are just swapping roles versus piling on. You are spot on.
Yeah. No, I love that. So we got these mini GMs.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about this engaging with one-on-ones. What are we trying to do here?
I hate to sound like a broken record, but again, something that we do, but we just don't do well. We think that we don't need to give one-on-ones. I don't need to give my team one-on-ones. I'm with them all day long. I'm on a group chat with them. I'm walking by all day. I'm even forwarding the emails from my boss, and I send it to them so that they know exactly what's coming down the pipe. But all we're doing is that we're offloading more things from us onto them. The question is, how many times do we create time for them to let us know what's going on in their world? That's the one-on-one. Another key piece to one-on-one is that's the coaching aspect. I always speak to manage, lead, coach, repeat. Whenever you manage, you're managing by taking a group of people, keeping them within a set of guardrails to hit a certain point by a certain time using certain systems. That's managing. We do that for most of our life. Leading is which I'm actually getting into some of leading with the right mindset, but leading is when you're taking a group of people that can't see what the next step should be or could be, and you're painting a picture so vividly that they're choosing to get on the plane while it's still being built, and they will get you there because they can see that destination. Now, managing and leading is a mastery of large groups of people. Coaching, though, is the mastery of one-on-ones. And one-on-ones is the time that you're taking to help create effective relationships, that when you're not in the building, the right things are being done at the right time because you've helped to train the muscle movement so that when they're in that situation, they take medium risks and get large returns because you've helped to train through that one-on-one. And during the one-on-one, it's you speaking 35% of the time and listening 65% of the time. One mouth, two ears. During that time frame, I always say, schedule it. Always schedule it. Put it on a schedule for everyone to see, and you do not cancel it, no matter what. Don't cancel your one-on-ones. 2, make it for 30 minutes. During that 30 minutes, it's again, you listening more and talking less. And when you formulate it that they go first. The first 10 minutes, they can talk to you about anything. They can talk about their hobbies, their kids, whatever. The second 10 minutes is you giving feedback on any research from the prior one-on-one, any questions that they asked, anything that's truly important, but you'll only get 10 minutes. The last 10 minutes, that's for them to talk to you about what they want to do, what kind of struggles that they have that is at work. And then you're taking notes. When you're taking notes, take handwritten notes. Don't use your phone, because a phone makes it look like you are pounding out some text or some email to your spouse. Make it authentic. Take notes and always put it on a piece of paper. And then that way you can stay focused on what you should be covering, and you're making it about them and not about you.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love the notes, and I love the structure of the meeting because, it's sometimes, listen, we're 3 guys that probably love to hear our own voice at times. You know what I mean? So when you're talking to somebody, if you don't have that structure of 10, 10, 10, 20 for them basically and 10 for you is what I'm hearing. That's that keeps you on track.
Listen, I'm guilty of that. I get super excited about a topic or a coaching mechanism or something. I will ramble on for days. So I have to put up the guardrails. Just like you said, it's great advice, man. I get jazzed up, I'm like a freight train going down, and then I don't care. I'm just going.
Oh man.
So let's put the final bookmark here on the 5th step of the first episode here with you, Jason. This is one of my favorite words ever. Leading with the right mindset. So tell us what you mean there.
I covered some of it during the engage with the one-on-ones, and leading with the right mindset is understanding that there's 3 distinct but interchangeable mindsets that restaurant managers use every single day: managing, leading, and coaching. You can use any one of these mindsets in order to get a good outcome. But the goal isn't to get a good outcome. It's to get the best outcome, the right outcome. And it's knowing when to use the managing mindset versus leading versus coaching. And some of the definition of it is, again, the managing aspect is it's all about the guardrails. What are the things, the systems, the processes that need to be in place in order for this to be successful. You can think through any situation and know whether it's going to be a managing mindset to get to that end result or leading. Leading is going to be when you're more in tune with the industry, with the future of the brand, with the future of the restaurant, with what's going on within the whole industry. And you're trying to find ways to get people to take that next leap, to draw that next thing, even without the details of every brushstroke. That is the leading mindset. And then again, the coaching mindset is me knowing what are your current, how is your current stats now? How far can you jump, for lack of better terms? How fast can you run? And then saying, now, where do you want to get to? The coaching mindset is helped and pivoted, not pivoted, but helped and posted by the never stop training mindset. When we look at our kids can play sports at a very young age. They can start playing, let's say AAU basketball at the age of 7. They can start playing basketball that young. When they get to middle school, if they choose to play both, they're getting coached for 9 out of 12 months of the year. Someone looking at what they can do, how to make them better. If they continue to do this in high school, still getting coached, but at a higher level, 9 out of 12 months of the year. When they get to college, there's no more AAU. It's now focused on advanced skills and drills with a team of coaches, making you better at what you do. And it's getting you ready for the WNBA or the NBA. Now that's where the big lights are. Did you know that there's 82 games, regular season, within the NBA? 82, not preseason, not the playoffs. At this stage, these players are getting paid tens of millions of dollars a year. And they've been getting coached since the age of 7 for 75% of the year. And yet still, there's a man or woman on the sideline screaming at them who to cover, when to fall back, when to press forward. And at the break of every gameplay, pulls everyone over, even if they're not playing, to go through the next play. But in a restaurant, you will hear managers say, I don't need to coach my team. They've been together for the last 2 years. I pay them $15 per hour. They better know what to do. Our thought process around coaching has to change, because what we do within our industry is much more complicated than a ball and a hoop.
You know what?
But
I think I'm glad he's wearing a hat.
Right,
I think his brain's inside of his hat right now. I saw it happen.
Yeah, that was so good. It pissed me off, right? It was one of those where it's like, why didn't I think about that analogy before? Because that is so well articulated and such a tangible, real life example that we can all relate to when you're trying to communicate to your managers and what to do. Again, I've used the word profound a couple of times already, Jason, which is almost a compliment to you. That one stopped me dead in my tracks. That's unbelievable. I'm not sure where you got that, where you drummed that up, but thank you. I'll be stealing it. I'll give you credit. Obviously, I'm not down with plagiarism, but
do it. Do it.
Insane.
And no, I got it from my son, because my son has been playing sports for many years. My youngest one, I have 2 sons and 1 daughter. The youngest one has been playing sports for many years. And I sat back and I'm looking at this because we do all of it, from Pop Warner for football to AAU for basketball to school sports. And I'm all like, it's crazy how much our kids get coached, but yet still in our lives as adults, we think of coaching as something that is reserved for the top 1% of executives. That's crazy. It's not. It's simply a vehicle of communication for our teams. That's it. It's just the mastery of one-on-ones.
Yeah. No, that's powerful stuff, man. I don't know a better place to end this first episode. This is the first 5 key takeaways from Jason's brand new book coming out on March 18th. Okay. We're going to have another episode within the next 5, so please look out for that. Jason, tell everybody where they can find you.
JasonEBrooks.com. You can find the new book at JasonEBrooks.com/Every Leader. The book is on Amazon right now. You can pre-order the book if you want Kindle. It's ready right now. The hardcover and the paperback will be ready on March 18th. And that's the same day I'll be speaking at the Bar and Restaurant Expo on book launch day, doing it the exact same day. So it's going to be a big week, big event. And again, check out givingkitchen.org. Great nonprofit helping food service workers in need.
No, that's awesome. Jason, thanks for being here. We're going to have all those links in the show notes. And good luck with this launch, man. We're really excited.
Thank you. And I look forward to part 2.
All right.
Makes 2 of us, buddy.
Coming at you soon.
Excellent.
Thanks, everybody.